We're continuing in this series of sermons on Christianity and how to live as a Christian in the 21st century. And we bounced this off of our Rethink Church. That's the program the United Methodist Church has. And I hope some of you have taken opportunity to go on the website, and they change it all the time. There's a lot of exciting stories about what's going on in Methodist churches around the country. And the code words there are something like this: what if church was a verb and not a place? What if church is something you do and not somewhere to go? This 4 years, the issue for us United Methodists are fourfold that Dr. Charles Aiken addressed very well on Laity Sunday. The first is we're going to end malaria in Africa these 4 years. Sometimes we go aghast about that until we remember that we eradicated malaria in the southern part of the United States back in the 30s. We're going to work on reducing poverty, which has grown by leaps and bounds. We're going to seek to put new places, not only for worship, but places for people to meet. If you look at some of our churches in Africa, you find that there are places where people convene to do all sorts of things, to study, to manufacture things, to meet for the community in needs. There are lively dynamics that create new life. And the last is to create new young leadership. And we're working on that fiercely to find new people, young people, to be pastors, to be missionaries, to be workers, and this is coming to pass. In this series, we talked about the fact that there's been a shift. People today do not come to church for religion. They're interested in spirituality. And by religion, most folks believe that refers to dogma and to arguing about whose interpretation of Scripture is correct. And people have grown weary of that kind of controversy and talk, and they want to drill the depths of what it means to be a human being, to be a follower of Christ in the deeps of their life, and to allow that to radiate out into history. And so we've been talking about what that looks like, and we talked about spiritual practices last Sunday, about meditation, contemplation, and prayer. We have always had spiritual practices at the root of what it meant to be a Methodist and what it means to be a Christian. Today I want to talk about some virtues: humility, gratitude, and compassion. This past week, Wanda and I attended the Red Bench Conversations that the Austin Interfaith here has. They're conversations and a dinner meal for people who are all faiths: Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish. I was delighted that at our table there was a young lady, and at the end of the meal, as we began to talk with her and her mother, she's only 16 years of age. She started her own company when she's 14. She goes to Africa now, and she's raised enough money to build a school, and she was talking about taking solar panels so that they can put them on the roof of the school to where they will have power and they can have computers. And I think, 16 years of age, and the last 2 years she's raised that much money is very concerned about people in another part of the world. And my jaw kind of dropped. I climbed on a plane Thursday, which was an interesting experience in itself, since we had all kind of storms and planes canceling and new flights being formed. Finally got there at 7:30 that night. We were to do the first live streaming of a mini consult in Pensacola. And we got into the place, and I used my computer with the program on it to do the live streaming. And everything worked perfectly. We were Skyping the missionaries in from Cameroon and putting them up on the screen where you could hear and talk to them. And we were live streaming the whole thing and had the sound up, and we had a Facebook page where people could type in from wherever their questions or their comments about the procedures. So we retired that evening feeling very good about ourselves, and we got up and got there about an hour before the session was to start, and nothing worked. And we frantically worked and talked to people from wherever that we could get help from, and tried and nothing was working. But about 2 minutes before we were to go on, everything came together, and the Skyping worked, and the live streaming worked, and we were able to have a conference with about 600 people in 3 different continents. And they were able to use the Facebook to talk to us and raise questions, and the missionaries in Cameroon could contribute, and it was a great experience and something brand new. We're going to use it again in 2 weeks. I won't have to go on this one, but they'll probably have better connections because it will be with Latvia in Europe. So things are switching and changing, and new possibilities are there. And we, as United Methodists, can take a lot of happiness in all the people. We were very fortunate. We had one of the young women preachers from Russia who happened to be in Mississippi at the time, and she came over and participated in it. So we had a great time. Now I want to talk to you about humility. Humility gets a bad rap in our society, principally because we have used our self-interest or our selfishness in so many different patterns. In fact, we don't even call it, that. We have ads that say, you deserve this product, and we kind of feel entitled. Quite often you run into this in so many forms that, particularly in this country, we feel that we don't get enough and we're entitled to a lot more than we get. And sometimes we look down on humility because we think of humility as being Mr. Mush-Mush, who just is kind of a nice guy that doesn't get anybody's way, and he's humble. Or sometimes we talk about humiliation, which is not being humble. Humiliation is about assassinating somebody's character, putting them down.